Chapter 6, the liberation of Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya. A summary of the 6th chapter is given by Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura in his Amṛta-pravāha-bhāṣya as follows. When Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu entered the temple of Jagannāth, he immediately fainted. Sarvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya then took him to his home. Meanwhile, Gopīnātha Ācārya, the brother-in-law of Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya, met Mukunda Datta and talked to him about Caitanya Mahāprabhu's acceptance of sannyāsa and his journey to Jagannātha Purī. After hearing about Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu's fainting and his being carried to the house of Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya, people crowded there to see the Lord. Śrīla Nityānanda Prabhu and the other devotees then visited the Jagannath temple. And when they came back to the house of Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya, Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu returned to external consciousness. Sarvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya received everyone and distributed mahā-prasādam with great care. The Bhattacharya then became acquainted with Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu and arranged accommodations at his aunt's house. His brother-in-law Gopīnātha Ācārya established that Lord Caitanya Mahāprabhu was Krishna himself, but Sarvabhauma and his many disciples could not accept this. However, Gopīnātha Ācārya convinced Sarvabhauma that no one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead without being favored by him. He proved by śāstric quotations from the revealed scriptures, that Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu was Krishna himself in person. Still, Sarvabhauma did not take these statements very seriously. Hearing all these arguments, Caitanya Mahāprabhu told his devotees that Sarvabhauma was his spiritual master and that whatever he said out of affection was for everyone's benefit. When Sarvabhauma met Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu, he asked him to hear Vedanta philosophy from him. Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu accepted the proposal, and for 7 days he continually heard Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya explain the Vedanta Sutra. However, the Lord remained very silent. Because of his silence, the Bhattacharya asked him whether he was understanding the Vedanta philosophy. And the Lord replied, "Sir, I can understand Vedanta philosophy very clearly, but I cannot understand your explanations." There was then a discussion between the Bhattacharya and Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu concerning the authority of the Vedic scriptures, specifically the Upanishads and Vedanta Sutra. The Bhattacharya was an impersonalist, but Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu proved that the Absolute Truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He proved that the conceptions of the Mayavadi philosophers concerning the impersonal Absolute Truth are incorrect. The Absolute Truth is neither impersonal nor without power. The greatest mistake made by the Mayavadi philosophers is in conceiving the Absolute Truth to be impersonal and without energy. In all the Vedas, the unlimited energies of the Absolute Truth have been accepted. It is also accepted that the Absolute Truth has his transcendental, blissful, eternal form. According to the Vedas, the Lord and the living entity are equal in quality but different quantitatively. The real philosophy of the Absolute Truth states that the Lord and his creation are inconceivably and simultaneously one and different. The conclusion is that the Mayavadi philosophers are actually atheists. There was much discussion on this issue between Sarvabhauma and Caitanya Mahāprabhu, but despite all his endeavors, the Bhattacharya was defeated in the end. At the request of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu then explained the Atmarama verse of Srimad Bhagavatam in 18 different ways. When the Bhattacharya came to his senses, Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu disclosed his real identity. The Bhattacharya then recited 100 verses in praise of Lord Caitanya Mahāprabhu and offered his obeisances. After this, Gopīnātha Ācārya and all the others, having seen the wonderful potencies of Lord Caitanya Mahāprabhu, became very joyful. One morning after this incident, Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu received some prasadam from Jagannath and offered it to Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya. Without caring for formality, the Bhattacharya immediately partook of the mahā-prasādam. On another day, when the Bhattacharya asked Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu the best way to worship and meditate, the Lord advised him to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. On another day, the Bhattacharya wanted to change the reading of the Tate Anukampam Susamikshimano verse because he did not like the word muktipad. He wanted to substitute the word bhaktipad. Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu advised Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya not to change the reading of Srimad Bhagavatam because muktipad indicated the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. Having become a pure devotee, the Bhattacharya said, because the meaning is hazy, I still prefer bhaktipad. At this, Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu and the other inhabitants of Jagannātha Purī became very pleased. Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya thus became a pure Vaishnava, and the other learned scholars there followed him. So we'll just take a few reflections or questions. Mathur Kripa.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. At the beginning of the reading, we heard how I believe the wife of the king, she wanted to offer a nose ring to Gopal. And Gopal then appeared in her dream and said that there was a hole that she could put the ring on. And it made me think of that verse from the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddha yogam tam yenamam upayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Because of her strong desire to serve the Lord himself appeared in her dream and showed her how she could serve him. So I really like that point.
Nice. It's a very charming section. Yeah. Good example of that. Nanda.
And similarly, I was thinking of that exact pastime in juxtaposition with Sarvabhauma, but his understanding that the Lord has no form, no hands, no legs, no eyes, and it's just so different, the conception of their absolute truth. How Krishna's, Śrīla Prabhupada would always stress, God is a person, he's a person, that means he's a person. And yet some people can't understand that at all and think that he's impersonal.
Yes.
Just a comment.
Thank you. Juxtapositioning is important. Hare Krishna Vamshuli, please go ahead.
I have a technical question. Maybe it's not so important, but is there any significance to why Nityananda Prabhu broke the danda into 3 parts?
Yeah, Tri Dandi. We heard that earlier. That one staff, it was just, he took him the Shankaracharya initiation. So he only had one. So he broke it into 3. Because Vaishnavas are Tri Danda. It's true. Anything else? Yes, there's some from the internet.
Yes, Maharaj. I would like to report how many people are watching online.
Okay.
We have 19 devotees watching on YouTube and Facebook.
Haribol! Thanks for tuning in.
Yes, I have some of the names of the devotees who are watching. We have Madhva Das, Manjari Devidasi, Chitralekha Sakhi Devidasi, Daniela from Bulgaria, Radha Kripa Prabhu, and Vijayavadhu Dasi.
Ega Chakapran.
Regarding the pearl, I've heard it said that it's not proper to offer something to Krishna that you've already worn, and it was clearly stated that she had worn that, and here's Krishna asking for her to give it to him. Can you speak a little bit about that? Is it possible to offer something to Krishna after you've worn it or someone else has worn it?
If Krishna asks you. Generally sages don't ride in conveyances, but Krishna asked them to get in the chariot to go with him to see Shrutadev and Balalashva, so they got in. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says when Krishna requests something, you just do it. And it's special case. It's more spontaneous devotional service than it is vidhi bhakti, in which we wouldn't do something like that.
One other lingering question from yesterday, if I may.
Yes, please.
It was mentioned that Madhavendra Puri...
You got to go closer or something. Or are you hearing okay out there? No.
Can you hear me now?
Keep it close. Keep it close.
It was mentioned that Madhavendra Puri was the first Acharya to bring this realization of conjugal love. And I was wondering how we can understand that he introduced that when Prabhupada is often saying, don't add anything, don't remove anything. And wouldn't the previous Acharyas have seen that clearly in the Bhagavatam?
The previous Acharyas seen... Oh, well, it's like the growth of a plant. It comes up and then it bears fruit. And it's the same tree, but in some places it's slightly different flavors. Like in a tree, if you taste the bark, you're not going to taste the same thing as the fruit. And so it's a fructification that comes up to the point of Madhavendra Puri, who introduces it. It's actually introducing it because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is coming. Everything actually comes from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but we celebrate Madhavendra Puri because he was the precursor to introduce it so that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could bring it out fully to the whole world as part of his mission. That's kind of like, in a similar vein, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyāsa, he had gone to his sannyas guru and he said, I've heard that this is the mantra you're going to give me, I just want to verify. And he spoke it into the ear of his guru. And his guru said, yeah, that's it. So when his guru gave him back the mantra, actually Mahaprabhu had already initiated his guru. So it wouldn't have been proper for his guru to initiate him. I mean, there's the ways in which the various appearances of acharyas are setting up the appearance of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu. And there's something about that in other writings that Mahaprabhu had taken from each one of the four acharyas a specific aspect of devotional service and emphasized it and brought it into his complete system for devotional service. But it's that they were given the opportunity to sort of incubate it so that he could bring it out. But your real question is, why wouldn't have everyone seen it? But it's because one can see according to the level of one's advancement in devotional service. And those who are deputed at a certain time to present the teachings of Krishna according to their position, they present a particular aspect of Krishna consciousness. But that's why we celebrate Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance, because he comes to bring it all together into harmonic convergence and present Amṛta-pravāha-bhāṣya Śrīrat, what nobody else has ever presented before. Yes, Prabhu.
Regarding the pearl, as far as I know, gold and precious stones, they're never contaminated. They can be offered to the deity even if they've been worn before. I can check again in Hari Bhakti Vilas, but I think that's part of the rule, so it is okay to offer jewels. And there's this famous story of a prostitute from South India who was very wealthy. She had a big mansion and a garden, and in the garden some Vaishnava was just passing by. They stayed, did some kirtan and hearing and chanting. she just overheard and her heart transformed. She became devotee, went to see Ranganath and was very attracted. She wanted to present her the most precious jewel. She had so many jewels, but she was shy. And then Ranganath appeared in the dream of the Pujari and told him, I want you to go and ask her for this jewel, but not only that, you ask her to put it on me, which was scandalous for a prostitute to climb on the altar. But if Krishna wants, what can you do? So she did it.
Thank you. Good to know about the purity of gems and gold.
Also, just to add on to one purport, it said
You got to
Prabhupada.
keep that really close so they can't hear out there.
Okay. Prabhupada said that in the Bindu Sarovar River, if you drink the water there, you'll cure any like stomach diseases or stomach problems. And I remember one pastime, Prabhupada was near that river and he had his disciples go get the water for him to drink, just to emphasize that point. So that's nice.
Nice. Okay. Yes, Govardhan. And then one out in the outside people's party.
Maharaj, I have one reflection and one question. So I think continuing on the same point, when the Lord says sometimes spiritual master asks his disciple to give the class in front of him, so it's like it can be seen like a difficult situation for a disciple to give class, but because spiritual master is asking, he do as a service. In the same line that you are saying that how the offering when Ek Chakaprantu was asking you that question. And the question I have, I think there is in one of the purport 159, Prabhupada says there are 4 points of instruction one should consider in the story, and the second one I could not understand. Second, the deity surpasses material regulative principles and extend the reality of transcendental principles.
What page is it?
530.
530. What's the verse number, please?
159.
Right, I remember there was lessons. There are 4 points of instruction one should consider the story of Shoks. First, the deity Archa Vigraha of Sri Gopal is eternally Satchidananda Vigraha, the transcendental form of the Lord. Second, the deity surpasses material regulative principles and extends the reality of transcendental principles. This deity surpasses material regulative principles and extends the reality of transcendental principles. I could only guess at that because I don't have, it doesn't go back to a specific point that I can think of. Except for it is what it is, that he's transcendental and Sakshi Gopal, although he's supposed to be in one place as a deity, he walked hundreds of miles to another place. Kana Gopal, did you have a point?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. I have a question. Śrīla Prabhupada writes here that Lord Caitanya Mahāprabhu explained the Atma Rama verse in 18 ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just reading also the introduction to the Srimad Bhagavatam where he states it was explained in 64 different ways. Do you happen to know why there's a difference in that number?
Well, there's mention that he did it in various times and places, so other people wanted to hear him expound on that. And so sometimes there's a variance in which number is used from different incidences. There was one outside people's party.
Hare Krishna, I have a question on the summary of chapter 6. Mm-hmm. It says there that Lord Chaitanya remained very silent when he was hearing from Sarvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya. Mm-hmm. And I was remembering last year we read Canto 3, and I don't remember, I made a note of it, but I don't remember exactly in what context, but it was saying that on the point of silence, it's you mentioned on a devotee's comment that we need to deal with interpersonal conflict personally, directly and quickly, and then silent harboring is not good because it destroys the foundation of trust. And your disciple Narad Muni Prabhu mentioned this phrase, cold silence has the tendency to atrophy any sense of empathy. So this point on silence, because sometimes devotees, they don't reply, they just remain quiet unless someone asks that why. In this case, Sarvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya asked him, did you not understand? But in dealing with devotees, it seems silence is sometimes better unless that person comes to us or to a certain devotee and ask what's the problem or what's going on.
I see. Well, there may be a slight mismatch in understanding this in the situations. For Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu, Sarvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya took it as, for those days, as the role of a student to listen until he realized that he hadn't asked any questions. And then he asked him to say something. Or if he asked him if he understood, and he said, no, I understand, it's just that you've covered the meaning. The other context of silence and how we had said it's not good, there is a kind of passive-aggressive way that people can be silent because it's a torturous thing to not speak when there's a situation to be resolved. And if somebody withdraws and just refuses to talk about it, it's a kind of ultimatum that I'm not talking to you because I'm so disgusted with you or something like that. That was a different kind of case. So different kinds of silence. Silence is golden when it's used properly. And it's one of the more beautiful pastimes. It doesn't come off as passive-aggressive at all. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was completely submissive to Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya. In fact, when everyone else was escalating, there was a big argument going on at his house about who he was. And Gopīnātha Ācārya said, no, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There was a big argument going on. And Mahaprabhu said, well, anyway, he's my spiritual master. Let him teach me. So it was a kind of preaching. And sometimes that type of silence can be very effective. I told the story, but it was in Santa Cruz on the street distributing books, and I met this guy with his daughter. She was 12 years old. And I gave him a book and told him about it. He was a Mr. Know-it-all. And at the end I asked him for a donation. Then he gave the book back very indignantly and went on for about 5 minutes telling his daughter about, hey, see, all the religions are the same. They just want money. And then he went on a diatribe talking about how everything's the same. The light post and the dog over there, they're the same thing. There is no difference between anything. He just went on, and I didn't say anything for 5 minutes. I just let him talk, and then after 5 minutes he took the book back, gave me $5 and handed the book to his daughter and said, here, you read it. And he just realized Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did that for effect. It wasn't out of a sense of being passive-aggressive or trying to disturb his mind. He was letting him see his own folly in talking to the Lord in such a highfalutin way, because when Lord Chaitanya starts to talk, then he realized through his intellect that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, especially with the Amṛta-pravāha-bhāṣya verse explanations. Okay, so let's go on a little more. Is everyone okay?
Yes.
Okay. We're at text number 1. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Lord Gaurachandra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who converted the hard-hearted Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya, the reservoir of all bad logic, into a great devotee. All glories to Lord Caitanya Mahāprabhu. All glories to Lord Nityananda. All glories to Advaita Acharya. And all glories to all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. In ecstasy, Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu went from Ataranala to the temple of Jagannāth. After seeing Lord Jagannāth, he became very restless due to love of Godhead. Lord Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu went swiftly to embrace Jagannath, but when he entered the temple, he was so overwhelmed with love of Godhead that he fainted to the floor. When Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu fell down, Sarvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya happened to see him. When the watchman threatened to beat the Lord, Sarvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya immediately forbade him. Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya was very surprised to see the personal beauty of Lord Caitanya Mahāprabhu, as well as the transcendental transformations wrought on his body due to love of Godhead. Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu remained unconscious for a long time. Meanwhile, the time for offering prasadam to Lord Jagannath came, and the Bhattacharya tried to think of a remedy. While Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu was unconscious, Sarvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya, with the help of the watchmen and some disciples, carried him to his home and laid him down in a very sanctified room. Purport: at that time, Sarvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya lived on the southern side of the Jagannath temple. His home was practically on the beach and was known as Markandeya Sarastata. At present, it is used as the monastery of Ganga Mata. Examining the body of Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu, Sarvabhauma saw that his abdomen was not moving and that he was not breathing. Seeing his condition, the Bhattacharya became very anxious. The Bhattacharya then took a fine cotton swab and put it before the Lord's nostrils. When he saw the cotton move very slightly, he became hopeful. Sitting beside Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu, he thought, this is a transcendental ecstatic transformation brought about by love of Krishna. I think it's very interesting because he's a Pakamayavadi. And I inquired about this to learned devotees. And one of them said something reasonable, which was, he was so learned, he knew all the shastras. Not just Gyan, but also all the bhakti shastras. So even though he hadn't realized it, that here's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or even though he didn't have regard for bhakti, he knew all about it academically. And we've seen that before. There was a professor at Colorado State University. He had read all the Prabhupada's books twice, but it was all academic until he became a devotee. And then it became a very different situation altogether. But that one could have the perspective and know that this is a symptom of love of Krishna. Upon seeing the sign of Sudipa Sattvika, Sarvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya could immediately understand the transcendental ecstatic transformation in the body of Lord Caitanya Mahāprabhu. Such a sign takes place only in the bodies of eternally liberated devotees. Purport: the word Sudipta Sattvika is explained in the following way by Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. The Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu mentions 8 kinds of transcendental transformations in the bodies of advanced devotees. These are sometimes checked by the devotees, and there are 2 stages of such checking, technically known as Dhumayita and Jwalita. The Dhumayita smoking stage is exhibited when only 1 or 2 transformations are slightly present, and it is possible to conceal them. When more than 2 or 3 transcendental transformations are manifest, and it is still possible to conceal them, although with great difficulty, that stage is called Jwalita, lighted. When 4 or 5 symptoms are exhibited, the Dipta, blazing stage, has been reached. When 5, 6, or all 8 symptoms are simultaneously manifest, that position is called Udipta, inflamed. And when all 8 symptoms are multiplied 1,000 times and are all visible at once, the devotee is in Sudipta, intensely inflamed stage. Nitya Siddha Bhakta indicates the eternally liberated associates of the Lord. Such devotees enjoy the company of the Lord in 4 relationships as servant, friend, parent, or conjugal lover. You can get a MD degree in devotional service. You know all the symptoms. Sarvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya considered the uncommon ecstatic symptoms of Adhiruddha Bhava are appearing in the body of Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu. This is very wonderful. How are they possible in the body of a human being? Aniruddha Bhava or Adhiruddha Mahabhava, as explained by Srila Rupa Goswami in his Ujjvala Nilamani, that's where it's explained. Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Ṭhākura quotes Rupa Goswami as follows: the loving propensity of the ashraya devotee toward the Vishaya, Lord, becomes so ecstatic that even after enjoying the company of the beloved, the devotee feels that his enjoyment is insufficient. At that time, the lover sees the beloved in different ways. Such a development of ecstasy is called anurag. When anurag reaches its highest limit and becomes perceivable in the body, it is called bhava. When the bodily symptoms are not very distinct, however, the emotional state is still called anurag, not bhava. When bhava, ecstasy, is intensified, it is called mahabhava. The symptoms of mahabhava are visible only in the bodies of eternal associates like the gopis. Anuragto habehe, Krishna name anuragto habehe. While the Bhattacharya was thinking in this way at his home, all the devotees of Caitanya Mahāprabhu, headed by Nityananda Prabhu, approached the Singhadwar, the entrance door of the temple. There the devotees heard the people talking about a mendicant who had come to Jagannātha Purī and seen the deity of Jagannath. The people said that the sannyasi had fallen unconscious upon seeing the deity of Lord Jagannath. Because his consciousness did not return, Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya had taken him to his home. Hearing this, the devotees could understand that they were speaking of Lord Caitanya Mahāprabhu. Just then, Śrī Gopīnātha Ācārya arrived. Gopīnātha Ācārya was a resident of Nadia, the son-in-law of Visharada, and a devotee of Caitanya Mahāprabhu. He knew the true identity of his lordship. Purport: Maheshwara Visharada was a classmate of Nilambar Chakravarti's. He lived in the Nadia district in a village called Vidyanagara and had two sons named Madhusudana Vachaspati and Vasudeva Sarvabhauma. His son-in-law was Gopīnātha Ācārya. Gopīnātha Ācārya had previously been acquainted with Mukunda Datta, and when the Acharya saw him at Jagannātha Purī, he was very much astonished. Mukunda Datta offered obeisances unto Gopīnātha Ācārya upon meeting him. Then the Acharya embraced Mukunda Datta and inquired about the news of Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu. Mukunda Datta replied, "The Lord has already arrived here. We have come with him." As soon as Gopīnātha Ācārya saw Nityananda Prabhu, he offered his obeisances unto him. In this way, meeting all the devotees, he asked about news of Lord Caitanya Mahāprabhu again and again. Mukunda Datta continued, "After accepting the sannyāsa order, Lord Caitanya Mahāprabhu has come to Jagannātha Purī and has brought all of us with him. Lord Caitanya Mahāprabhu left our company and walked ahead to see Lord Jagannath. We have just arrived and are now looking for him. From the talk of the people in general, we have guessed that the Lord is now at the house of Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya." Upon seeing Lord Jagannath, Caitanya Mahāprabhu became ecstatic and fell unconscious. And Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya has taken him to his home in this condition. Just as I was thinking of meeting you by chance, we have actually met. First, let us all go to the house of Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya and see Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu. Later, we shall come to see the Lord. We shall come to see Lord Jagannath. Hearing this and feeling very pleased, Gopīnātha Ācārya immediately took all the devotees with him and approached the house of Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya. Arriving at the home of Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya, everyone saw the Lord lying unconscious. Gopīnātha Ācārya became very unhappy to see him in this condition, but at the same time, he was happy just to see the Lord. Sarvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya permitted all the devotees to enter his house, and upon seeing Nityānanda Prabhu, the Bhattacharya offered him obeisances. Sarvabhauma met with all the devotees and offered them a proper welcome. They were all pleased to see Lord Caitanya Mahāprabhu. The Bhattacharya then sent them all back to see Lord Jagannath, and he asked his own son, Chandaneshwar, to accompany them as a guide. Everyone was then very pleased to see the deity of Lord Jagannath. Lord Nityananda in particular was overwhelmed with ecstasy. When Lord Nityananda Prabhu nearly fainted, all the devotees caught him and steadied him. At that time, the priest of Lord Jagannath brought a garland that had been offered to the deity and offered it to Nityananda Prabhu. Everyone was pleased to receive this garland worn by Lord Jagannath. Afterwards, they all returned to the place where Lord Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu was staying. All the devotees then began to loudly chant the Hare Krishna mantra.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Hare.
Just before noon, the Lord regained his consciousness. Caitanya Mahaprabhu got up and very loudly chanted. Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya was very pleased to see the Lord regain consciousness, and he took the dust of the Lord's lotus feet. The Bhattacharya informed all of them, "Please take your midday baths immediately. Today I shall offer you mahā-prasādam, the remnants of food offered to Lord Jagannath." After bathing in the sea, Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu and his devotees returned very soon. The Lord then washed his feet and sat down on a carpet to take lunch. Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya made arrangements to bring various kinds of mahā-prasādam from the Jagannath temple. Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu then accepted lunch with great happiness. Caitanya Mahāprabhu was offered special rice and first-class vegetables on golden plates. He thus took lunch in the company of his devotees. While Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya personally distributed the prasadam, Lord Caitanya Mahāprabhu requested him, "Please give me only boiled vegetables." Lapra Vyanjana is a preparation in which many vegetables are boiled together and then a chunk is added, consisting of spices like cumin, black pepper, and mustard seed. You can offer the cakes and preparations made with condensed milk to all the devotees. Hearing this, the Bhattacharya folded his hands and spoke as follows. Today, all of you, please try to taste the lunch just as Lord Jagannath accepted it. After saying this, he made them all eat the various cakes and condensed milk preparations. After feeding them, he offered them water to wash their hands, feet, and mouths. Begging permission from Lord Caitanya Mahāprabhu and his devotees, Sārvabhauma Bhaṭṭācārya then went with Gopīnātha Ācārya to take lunch. After finishing their lunch, they returned to Lord Caitanya Mahāprabhu. And that brings us to our Gayatri break. We'll be back here again in the live studios here at Bhaktivedanta Ashram at Govardhan Hill at 12:01. Panchakalpadrishcha kripa sindhibheva patitanam pavanibhyo vaishnavebhyo namuna nantakoti vaishnaviniki jai. And on this break, try to introduce yourself to somebody who you haven't met yet. That's your homework. That's why we have extra time on the break. If we catch you talking to your friends, you're in big trouble. Hare Krishna. Okay?
Okay.
All right.